Welcome to the Sci-Fi Christian. I'm Bendy Bono.
And I'm Ben Kirkwald.
And we're back for another season, but this time we are marching into uncharted territory, and I gotta tell you, I don't know how I feel about this.
This is awful. I wonder, if you're just a show watcher and this is how you felt the entire time, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we've gone through it with, Breaking Bad
Right.
and everything, but...
I don't feel sorry. They had the books there, you know. You could have sat down and read them, but now we're all in the same boat. It's like, damn it, I've put 15 years into this series, and I'm in the same boat with people who started a month ago and just streamed through the whole thing.
But I really don't think we are. I think, well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So lots to talk about. Tonight's episode, The Red Woman. I should get my notes here. But as always...
Yes, of course.
This is the more R-rated iteration of the Sci-Fi Christian, which means we're smoking and drinking. So today we have we're both smoking classic Cavendish from Tobacco Grove, one of the best, if not the best, smoke shop in the Twin Cities. Mm-hmm. Have you had this before?
Yeah, I've had it here, and I've had my own stash too, so... Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the Tobacco Grove is now in your backyard, Pat.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. The kid was born the week after Game of Thrones ended.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, now he's...
So he's 10 months old now, yeah. So...
Exciting times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have another one on the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here we go. Which, ironically, my daughter is maybe going to be born on the same day your son was born last year.
Yeah, this could happen.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, then today we're also going to... The brand new Game of Thrones beer from Amagon. This is Seven Kingdoms Hoppy Wheat Ale. Have you had this one yet?
No.
Okay.
I didn't even know that it was out, to be honest.
Yeah, so I've had this. I liked it. I would say that for me, I would still put the Three-Eyed Crow ahead of it, and I would put the Stout ahead of it.
Okay.
So, but it's upper tier. You know, so from sheer rankings, it would be middle of the pack. But then again, I wasn't a big fan of the Valar Morghulis. I wasn't a big fan of the Fire and Blood. Though I still have a couple of those we can pull out this year. Sure. So yeah. All right. This one might go flying.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Hey-o.
Okay. I'll let you pour yourself.
It's really light in color.
Yeah. I should have tilted.
Yep.
But the book I forget what book it is, but I read a book on craft beer and it said not to tilt, so I haven't been tilting. But I think if the top goes flying off like that, it's probably a sign
that you should not.
That you should
well,
tilt.
I did tilt. I think I have more head than you did. So.
That's true.
Who knows?
That's true. All right. So lots to get to tonight. What are your we'll maybe get back to the beer after our heads die, so to speak.
Right.
An appropriate thing to say for Game of Thrones. Anyway, what are your general thoughts on this episode? I already said you don't like being in uncomfortable territory. I don't like it, but I think I don't like it because I'm angry that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't feel super in suspense.
Right. I think it's going to be good. I don't know. I mean, it's probably one of the weaker starts to a season, I think.
Yeah, but I feel like we say that every year, because I feel like the first episode is always a let's make sure we see everybody episode.
But this is the first season in a while where we haven't had a little, off of the main characters preview.
That's true.
Prologue kind of a deal. We had the making of the two swords. Yep. Last year we had Cersei's whole thing in the woods. And you're
right. I think it's the first season they haven't done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a shame.
Right.
But they did have a 10-minute previously on Game of Thrones at the beginning.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it went on a long time.
Right. I think everybody at this point knows what happened on Game of Thrones last season. So.
Well, and I'm fine with them having something like that, but keep it under control because we're in the age of streaming right now, and if, for example, you're like me and you haven't rewatched anything and you're feeling a little confused, you can go back and rewatch everything and catch up. So they don't need to have them be that long, and hopefully that's just the start of the season thing and not
Right.
every week thing, because that's going to suck if they do that every single
Yeah,
week.
no kidding.
Yeah, I felt like it was kind of about par for the course. I did miss the prologue, like you were saying. About par for the course in terms of a season opener. They're never the strongest episodes. There's a couple shocks with the whole stuff down in Dorne that we'll get to, which that's something where I think your book knowledge does come into play, because that is a big departure, even though we're kind of moving beyond the book and the timeline.
Right.
But Dorne has been a departure even last season, so we'll see what they do there. But my theory about book 6, and then subsequently season 6, as we call it up there, but book 6, the theory I've had for the last 5 years, is that in book 6 we're going to essentially see a replay of everything that's happened up to this point for all of our characters. We're going to see their arcs replay, but in fast forward. So when Winds of Winter eventually shows up, we know Dany's going to start with the Dothraki, and I expect her to, by the end of book 6, have achieved her status as the queen again and be ready to go with invading Westeros and kind of redo her arc, but in a more successful way. I think the same thing's going to happen with Tyrion. I think, it's going to happen with a number of characters. And I felt like we kind of got some confirmation that seems to be where it's going.
Yeah, I think so. I think, I don't know, some of the departures just threw me for a loop where I was just a little bit more focused on them than thinking about how all these storylines are really going to come out at the end.
Someday, somehow.
Yeah, someday, somehow. Differently than we all expected it to be, but...
Yeah. Alright, so the episode... Well, before we get into the kind of breaking things down by location, now you've had the hoppy wheat ale. What do you think now that you're headed down?
Not very hoppy, more wheaty, I would say. I'd say very light on the hops. Just kind of a light... I don't know. I feel like is it a Belgian style?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think compared to your standard wheat beer, it's maybe...
It's a step up.
Yeah.
One step up.
I'm thinking, you said you're going to have I have a homebrew that I just tapped today that is ultra hoppy, and I think you should have had that first.
Right.
Because this is a good coming down from that.
Good coming down from that, because I was going to try that after this. I was going to have just a little taste of that just to see what I'm in for.
Yeah, it's like that 6-pack from Summit we were having a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where, not to get too into Minnesota beer, but Summit Brewing here put out a 6-pack where 3 beers were an American IPA that was pretty hoppy, and then 3 were a session IPA.
Yeah.
And the idea was that you drink the American IPA first and then the session IPA. And normally I don't like session IPAs, but drinking them in that order, it was actually good.
Right.
Because it's like you just had your palate destroyed,
right.
And then you kind of come off of it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying this right now because I just had a pint of my ultra hoppy IPA.
I'll go the opposite next week.
I guess so.
All right, let's get in.
So we start at the wall, but maybe let's come back there because we also end there because lots of interesting stuff up at the wall. But maybe after the wall, then we went to Winterfell, where we have a few different things happen. We start with Ramsay Bolton, who is appropriately affectionate for his dead girlfriend Miranda.
I mean, can you get any more awful? Like, the person that you love, that you actually love, has died. You're just like, you know what? It's good meat. Just get rid of the dogs. It's fine.
Yeah, I felt like maybe that was... Do they almost feel like they have to one-up themselves with Ramsay every week?
But, I mean, I don't know. I didn't feel like they had to do that with Joffrey.
No.
So I don't know why they would feel that what they have to do with Ramsay now.
But Ramsay's been more controversial on the show.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's just some self-consciousness, because I kind of liked the line, and then I kind of felt like it was maybe a little over the top even for his character. But whatever. And then he has a conversation with Dad.
Yeah, where Dad is pretty much just like, hey, if you're not going to do what I ask you to do, then if this son happens, then you're out of the picture, you know? Like, get in line or you're out of line kind of a deal.
Roose has a backup plan.
And I hope that he has considered what Ramsay could do in his backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from what we've seen so far down in Dorne and everything, that your backup plan should consider some sort of rebellion of some sort.
Yeah, I think it's... I would be surprised if there isn't some kind of split between Ramsay and Roose in this season. Ramsay is going... I think it will be a boy. Roose's baby will be a boy.
Yeah, right.
Ramsay is going to either kill or attempt to kill the baby, and then attempt to kill Roose, but I think Roose will win in the end. Roose will be the one who kills Ramsay. Though I feel like maybe, it would be more poetic justice if Sansa got to do it, but this is Game of Thrones. We're not too into justice, period.
Right, yeah. Right?
Yes. And then we get Sansa and Theon, who are alive.
Right. So in the books, they talk about, it's like a 200-foot wall. In the show last season, they did a poor job of it, but it's 200-foot wall, and then they talk about how there's already 20 feet of snow.
Right.
And so they're just kind of jumping into 20 feet of snow. So in that case, it seems logical that it's possible to survive that fall. Whereas...
That's a long fall, though, even with
180 feet. Yeah. But I don't know.
Hey, if I'm going to jump 200 feet, I'd rather have a 20-foot snowdrift than nothing.
It seems a lot more plausible than the way they gave it last year, where it's like, oh, can I still see the grass through the snow off this 50-foot wall? Like,
right.
You're going to die then. So, yeah. They didn't really talk about how they survived, but they were marching through the woods. They got found by the Bolton men, and then they get saved by Brienne, who comes to save the day, who I actually thought that was going to be Littlefinger coming through the woods to come and save her.
Yeah, we didn't see Littlefinger.
No,
tonight.
we have not seen him in a long time.
Now, you just rewatched season 5, so
yes.
Is the last we've seen of Littlefinger when he sends Sansa north, or was there anything after that?
No, that's it.
Okay, so we don't know what he's up to.
Yeah, we have no idea what he is up to, which should be of a massive concern to everyone. Because,
yeah, exactly. Because he's obviously doing something.
Right.
Now, the moment when Brienne finds them just in the nick of time, I gotta say it was one of those moments where the show took on a very different experience for me than it has been the last 5 seasons. And what I mean by that is that the show has always taken narrative shortcuts, and I'm not saying that's good, bad, and different. I think it has to because of the scope of the story, but it's had coincidences like that where it's invoked a narrative shortcut because they don't have time to do, George R. R. Martin has 20 chapters showing how Brienne found Sansa in that moment.
Right.
It bothered me more here, though, the level of coincidence, because I don't know what the actual story is for how Brienne would find Sansa in that moment, where it feels like in past narrative shortcuts, I've kind of been able to go to my book knowledge and say, oh, well, they're just skipping over, steps 2, 3, and 4, but they're reaching the same conclusion that George did. They just kind of cheated.
I think that it would probably lie something in after whatever happens to Stannis, because there's lots of theories about whether or not he's dead and whatever. But
right, we didn't see a body.
We didn't see a body, and then I feel like Roose Bolton saying that he's dead is a total red herring for him actually being dead. And then I'm sure that she was out in the woods. She heard the pack of people go by saying that they were looking for Sansa, and then tracked them through the woods and then just happened to show up at the right moment. I feel like that's how it happened.
Yeah. So,
we're skipping steps, right? But
and the difference for me is not knowing what those steps are from the book.
Right.
So, it is what it is, and that's just the new reality that I'm going to have to get used to.
Right.
All right, King's Landing.
Yes.
This was interesting to me because I kind of like what they're doing with Jaime's character here, where it feels like Jaime's character, part of what's been so great about his character, both show and books, is that we learn his reputation before we really meet him as a character.
Right.
So we hate him by reputation, we meet him as a character, and we realize this is a very flawed man, but he's not the evil, horrible person we've made him out to be. And now it feels like the other shoe is about to drop in terms of his character.
Right. Yeah, it really feels like we're going to see a side of Jaime that we've never been able to see before, and we're going to see him kind of out on his own. I mean, after he got his hand cut off, that's really when everything started, right? And so he's lost everything there, and now he's finally attempting the rebuilding process that I think has taken a long time for him to
Exactly.
do. So, yeah.
And getting the band back together, he and Cersei seem to be buddies again.
Yeah, I really thought that Cersei would be a little bit more distraught about her. I mean, she seemed resigned from it. I think she just is so numb to these types of things happening. Where if Marcella's death would have happened before Joffrey's death, that the army would already be marching on Dorne, and it would all be over. But because she's just so numb from everything that's happened over the past 2 seasons, she's just resigned herself to almost accepting it at this point. I mean, no reaction has been. I mean, it's a very short scene, right? Something is obviously going to happen, but so far it just seems she's just.
Yeah, she's a very beaten down character at this point. Yeah, and again, that's an interesting take on her character, because kind of like Jaime, we've seen all these different sides of her, and now we're kind of arriving at a point where these two characters need each other, but it seems like in a way where they're going to bring out the worst things about one another.
Right.
Yeah. We kind of check in with Marjorie. She's still hanging out in the cell.
Yeah, it's... In the books, she's out before Cersei is. Is that right?
I don't remember.
Maybe she gets out first. I think. Well, right now her dad is over in Bravos discussing whatever, but in the books, he just comes and takes her out, and everybody's like, "All right, that sounds good."
Yeah.
But I think that's how it works. But I'm not.
Yeah, you could be right. Time to reread again, I guess.
Oh, man.
Crap. There goes the next 6 months.
Right.
Okay, Dorne, pretty major departure from the books.
Huge departure from the books.
So last we see of Dorne or Prince Dorne in the books is he's revealed that his passivity is anything but. He is really just has all these elaborate machinations in place. And I guess that could still be going on, but he's not going to be around to see it.
Yeah. I mean, this is I feel like it's just a big shortcut.
Yeah.
For them. They're just kind of gonna cut out that storyline and just cut right to the chase with what would have happened if Doran's whole conniving, backstabbing, everything would have happened.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm interested to see where it will go.
Well, and they botched Dorne very badly last season.
Yeah.
So maybe the storyline is just in that bad of shape that they needed to do something like this.
Right. You just have to wipe the slate clean and start over.
I mean, I think of all the adaptation choices they've made in the entire show, Dorne has got to be at the top of the list for the worst job they've done.
Yeah.
And then also his son, Prince Tristan, gets the spear through the back of the head.
Yeah, okay, that's, what else do you say to that right now? You just kind of go, alright, well, we'll roll with it. I don't feel like I can pass judgment on what's happening in Dorne right now until I see their bigger picture.
Exactly.
Because it could come to fruition where it's like, oh yeah, that really makes sense. Like, I'm glad that they did that, because if they didn't do that, then we would have had a longer, whatever is happening. So
yes, I would say I'm intrigued by what they're doing, but they don't get the benefit of the doubt after what they did with Dorne last season. Is where I'm at. So I'm cautiously pessimistic about it.
I'll be cautiously optimistic.
All right.
Call it even.
Yeah. Okay, Meereen. We have Tyrion and Varys.
Yep.
kind of walking
trying
around.
to figure out how to solve the problem.
Yep.
Which I think is, again, going back to what you discussed at the beginning, is redoing the storylines again, where when Tyrion was in charge of all of King's Landing, we really found that he ruled from above and just kind of did what needed to be done and didn't think about everybody else. But now I think we see him walking the streets, and there's that creepy dude that was like standing behind a wall. That was weird.
Yeah.
That never came to be anything.
Right.
And then, I don't know. I think that he wants to try and do this right this time.
Right.
But, I don't know. Meereen's not exactly the place where
no,
you're going to make your final stand either, so I don't know.
I think the key scene here was the Lord of Light preacher and his little street sermon about Dany.
Yeah.
Because I will make a prediction for where this is going, that when Dany makes it back to Meereen, her cult is going to be drastically different than what it has been. And she's now going to be interpreted through the lens of the Lord of Light and that whole religion, and it's going to be a very mixed bag for her. And she's going to have to use that cult to accomplish her aims.
Yeah.
So I think that I like what they're doing there. It seems like they're laying the groundwork for when Dany comes to power, it's going to be a happy ending, but with a qualifier on it.
Right, bittersweet.
Yeah, very much so.
Right.
Very much so. I will say that my heart sank a little bit when I saw the ships being burned, because I don't want us to stay in Meereen.
We all knew that was not how they were getting out of there, though. So.
Yeah, but still, no, don't do that.
I know. Well.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. Okay, and then Jorah and Dario are tracking Dany. We get another little shortcut here where they find the ring in the middle of the grass.
No, there was a circle around it. I thought about that because I had watched a preview where he picks up the ring, and I thought, my God, how lucky that you would just walk across the exact same path that she would. But at least it was like there was this big dirt circle where all these, I mean,
okay.
That's better.
It's better.
Not good, but better. And so they find that, so she's with the Horde, and now they'll follow the Horde, and they'll get back to Vice Thrak, and I think we can see how the next few episodes go. It's still, I feel like they really like, whoever is writing or thinking of producers perhaps, or really like this buddy cop, motif that's going on, that's happened several times with Jaime and Brienne, and then we have Brienne and Pod, and now we have these two together, and it's just...
we had Jorah and Tyrion, and now it's Jorah and Dario.
Right, it's just like two people getting along, and then, I don't know, none of them have died so far, but it always seems like...
Jorah's not doing well. He's got the scale thing spreading. And then we have Dany with the Dothraki, and it felt like, I kind of talked about my thoughts on this a little bit before, but this is the natural progression where we see her already go from being a slave, and here within the course of one episode, we kind of have her season 1 arc. Where she goes...
she's already, she's married, and now she's supposed to go do this, but obviously she's going to get out of that.
Right. She's going to go to Vaes Dothrak.
Hopefully. Could you imagine the end of Book 7 is just like her dying in Vaes Dothrak at this temple, whatever.
That would be very depressing and anticlimactic. and if that's the final episode, we're not even going to do one of these. We're just going to be pissed off.
Just drink and stuff.
Just do shots.
Right.
Alright, then we have a brief scene with Arya where she needs to kind of learn her daredevil skills.
Yeah, and I'll ask you the question after the show, but she's just a blind beggar. Now she has to learn how to see without seeing, kind of get a little Yoda Jedi Master kind of thing going on.
That's right. Yeah, she's got to develop her hearing, I guess.
Right.
Yep. I've been watching this series of samurai films called Zatoichi, the blind swordsman. It reminded me exactly of that, because he doesn't have superpowers, but he can supposedly just hear so well that he can fight all the guys even though he's blind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
That is impressive.
It stretches credulity
I can't
just a
bite
little
people
bit.
with eyes. So, yeah.
Exactly. So, but he's kind of like a proto Daredevil. I don't know if you've been watching Daredevil on Netflix.
No.
But, okay. Well, never mind then.
I know
Daredevil's
the premise of Daredevil.
Yeah. Okay. But he actually has superpowers. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, to the wall. Jon is dead? Question mark?
He's dead. He's definitely dead right now. I mean, nobody put a finger up to the neck, but
yeah.
you get stabbed 12 times.
Yes, he is dead.
Right now.
So let your Jon conspiracy theories run wild here, because for months and months, it was like, well, Jon's not dead, and then we see, Kit Harington's in Belfast, and he's filming at the Game of Thrones crew, so obviously Jon's coming back. Well, he could have just been filming these scenes, right?
Yeah, but he can't. It's because, I don't know, I mean, I guess reading the books and watching the show, it's just every other time that somebody dies,
yeah.
I mean, you know that they're dead. Like, Ned died. We didn't want him to be dead, but he died. And Robb, we didn't want him to be dead, but he died. And same thing with everybody else along the entire line.
Right.
But for some reason, for some weird, bizarre reason, this one feels different.
It does.
I don't know why it feels different. It just does.
Well, I think it's obvious that, and we can talk about the stuff with Davos and Thorne in a minute, but the Red Woman, Melisandre, is the out. And it's clear from this episode that she needs to have her own character arc before she's in a place where she can bring Jon back.
That better happen quick. That body is going to get smelly.
Yeah, well, whose? Hers or his? I mean, neither one of them was looking so hot.
That was, is there anything else? I mean, Alistair, right?
Yeah, Davos, they kind of have a nice little standoff going.
Right, Davos knows exactly what's going to happen.
Have you seen The Shining?
Yes.
Okay, so that's like exactly room 237 there. The scene where Jack Torrance goes in and he's making out with the woman from the bathtub, and then he looks in the mirror and it's like the old...
She's like the old lady.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez, I never thought about that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where my mind went. Probably because I'm a Kubrick junkie. But, it's like she takes off the jewel. So is this how she actually looks and the jewel is some kind of thing from the Lord of Light?
Yeah,
because Martin's always about that jewel. That. Yeah, all the time.
Right, and it's like this beating heart almost that just pulses. And yeah, now that she's taken it off, she's actually 1,000,000 years old, and and it's bizarre that she would ever take it off. But maybe she's just so done. She just wants it.
It's a shame Maester Aemon passed away, because I think they could have hooked up.
Yeah, we didn't know we could have, right? But they definitely...
They were right in each other's wheelhouse. It's like elder dating,
Jeez.
Yeah, so that surprised me.
Yeah.
And even now as I'm kind of thinking about it, like I mentioned how Martin has mentioned that jewel so many times, I can see where this has been set up for a long time. I did not see that coming, though.
Not even a little bit. But it was that was kind of exciting then, right?
Yeah. So I think that Jon, I am still a believer that Jon is going to come back, but I think the arc is going to be that Melisandre needs to figure some things out.
Right.
Before she's able to bring him back. She's obviously...
But she has till sundown to figure these things out.
Yeah.
So there's going to be either, instead of the wall, we're going to have Melisandre flashbacks next week.
Maybe.
Or we're going to get a real short,
like
a 5-minute monologue.
Remind me, what's this whole sundown thing? Is that...
That's when they're going to break in and take Jon's body.
Well, yeah, but Jon's body could still be around, even.
They'll just burn it. We know that they will.
I mean, I'm just saying that things could happen to prolong that deadline. I don't think they have to cram the whole arc into before. I mean, they've played games with chronology in the past in the show, but that would be, we see one. It's like the Wall storyline this season, like 24, where it just takes place in real time.
Wouldn't that be funny?
That would be pretty funny. All right. Any final thoughts on this episode?
I don't know. Yeah, just a season one.
Yep.
First episode one. Yeah. That just I'm super stoked and excited for the season. I can't wait to see how this all kind of shapes out. And I mean, we got to see everybody, right? We didn't miss anybody.
There's some minor characters like Littlefinger we didn't see.
Right. And then
we still don't know what's going on with Stannis, if he's dead, alive.
Right. And the Greyjoys I saw in a preview, but we don't know what's going on with them quite yet.
Right.
Not too bad. I feel like this will be a good season. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's bittersweet for both of us because we don't know what's going on either, and we can't give you the insightful book references that we've tried to do over the past few years, but we'll do our best. We'll try.
On the plus side, nobody's going to yell at us about accidentally spoiling things.
Right, because there's nothing to spoil.
And if you do, you're wrong because, we are in the same boat as you.
Right.
All right, everyone. We'll be back next week then. So I'm Betty Bono.
I'm Kirk Long.
And this is Sci-Fi Christian. Goodbye.